A consultation's begun on increasing the number of children that can be looked after by a single childcare worker in England. Currently, one adult can be in charge of 4 children, but the government wants to change that to 5 children. The government hopes it'll cut the costs of childcare, but there are fears the quality of care could drop if the plan is adopted. Sandra Berg reports.
7:30 in the morning and toddlers are arriving at Little Flyers nursery near Edinburgh. Most parents said they were happy with the staffing ratio here. Maisie has been going to nurseries since she was 2.
We were in Glasgow before and I always felt the ratios were quite generous in Glasgow as well.
Compared with England, the Scottish workforce is better qualified and staff have to continue training throughout their career. At Little Flyers, they'll often have more adults in the toddler room than the legal minimum.
The ratio system is more like, it's like the speed limit. You know, that's the maximum you can go to. You don't want to exceed that, but you can drive slower if you like. It's the same with the ratio. You can have more hands-on.
This system is well established. The ratio's been in place for many years. Scottish nurseries generally have more funding per child, and they don't have to pay business rates. Should that Scottish ratio be a model for England? That's the question the government's asking today as it starts a formal consultation.
This isn't a decision made, it's about us going ahead and saying, look, Scotland do things ever so slightly differently. They have a 1:5 ratio instead of a 1:4. We need to look at that. We need to consult with the sector, we need to consult with the experts, and importantly, consult with parents to make sure that what we're proposing is right.
If you see a lion, don't forget to roar.
Over the border from Little Flyers at Yellow Wellies nursery in Durham, the owner says it's the very worst time to change staffing. Children born during the pandemic missed so much. To catch up, many need extra individual support. Even if she did change the ratios, the owner of this nursery doubts she'd be able to drop fees. Other costs are going up fast. Her energy bill has tripled.
Please come and spend a day with us in our 2-year-old's room. And when I say day, I mean 7:30 till 6 o'clock. Pop yourself in the room with 15 2-year-olds and 2 of my staff. Let's see how you get on.
So what was that monkey doing?
He's shaking.
Nurseries in both nations have been hit by the cost of living crisis. Experienced staff are leaving for better paid work. And in England, the number of providers has dropped by 4,000 over the last financial year. Sandra Berg, BBC News.
And let's talk to Neil Leach, who's Chief Executive of the Early Years Alliance. What do you make of this proposal?
I think it's frankly a ridiculous and misleading proposal because government is completely aware that this will not impact the cost of care and education for parents. They know that 9 out of 10 providers have already said to them they will not change their ratios. They know as it currently stands that over half don't operate to the existing 1:4 ratio. So I suggest this is just really a veneer to go out to parents and dangle a carrot to say, look what we're doing for you in this economic crisis. We're going to get your childcare and education costs down. It won't happen. So it's misleading and it's a waste of time and effort.
But the government minister who was talking about this earlier on today was saying that actually this is just a consultation. That's why they're not just going ahead with this. They're going to listen very carefully to everybody concerned.
Well, I hope that is the case, but perhaps they should have listened to everybody concerned before they wasted their time on this consultation. Because I come back to the point, parents don't want this. The sector doesn't want this. Why are we pushing this forward? And it is interesting, in a sort of supplementary question within the consultation, government's also asking, well, would you like to change the ratios of older children? This is really just a fanciful position to try and put the responsibility for childcare costs back onto providers. The reason we have high childcare and education costs is not because of the number of people that care for children. It's because we invest considerably less than many other countries do. And there's a synergy between the two. You can't have it both ways. You can't have really high childcare costs and a very low investment and expect magic to happen. It doesn't work like that.
Well, just on that point again, to quote what the government have been saying about the point that other countries invest more in early years education, they're saying, well, yeah, other countries do, but there are also other countries which pay a lot more tax. For example, Sweden, where nearly all your childcare costs are covered, the lowest paid workers are paying 35% tax. That is their argument.
Well, I accept that. But, you know, we never have this debate when it comes to older children. We accept that somehow when a child walks through the school gates, we have a responsibility. We have a social responsibility to educate them, to make sure that they do not become a burden later on in life. That's exactly the same for the early years. This isn't about babysitting. This isn't about stopping children running across the street. This is about creating kind citizens for the future that will generate income into basically the economy. We shouldn't treat it any differently, but we do. We think it's just a byproduct, and children all of a sudden have become commodities in the Treasury's equation. This is not what this is about. This is about educating children. And I was really interested, I just make this point. When you were talking to the individual in the nursery, she talked about, well, isn't this an awful time to do it? At the very same time as this proposal was leaked from Number 10, you had Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Ofsted doing the rounds on radio and television, telling colleagues that children's development, young children's development had stalled. They need more support than ever. We have a recruitment and retention crisis. So it's like some, dare I say, fool has come forward and said, what's the worst possible time that we can propose changing ratios?
OK, well, just one last point, which is, you know, changing that staff to child ratio from 1 to 4 to 1 to 5. Is it really that dramatic when all it does is bring England into line with the ratio in Scotland?
It's about taking things in context. You can't cherry pick bits from other countries and assume that that makes your argument. You can't do that. You have to look at it in the round. And my argument is, yes, it does.
Good to talk to you. Thank you, Neil Leach from the Early Years Alliance. Thanks for your time.